We still do lack the appreciation for how dangerous our environment is.
Deadly fires, and it was the smoke that killed the people, and it killed them quickly.
The culture of the fire service is very strong, and there are people in many ways that even think they'd rather have a great funeral than to be chastised or to be looked at unfairly or be looked at poorly for doing things that might not be considered heroic or firemanly, if you would.
Let's treat every fire like a loaded gun until we know that the environment is 100% stable and cooled. We have to assume that it's producing gases that can kill us.
Smoke is everywhere, and the fire service knows it. You know it. It's also well known that smoke kills more people than flames. There are numerous toxicants within fire smoke, but there are two that challenge the pre-hospital care provider when it comes to assessment and could potentially complicate any treatment rendered. Often, carbon monoxide gets all the credit when we think about the dangers of smoke exposure. Rarely acknowledged is hydrogen cyanide, which is created during the combustion process of burning laminates, synthetics, foams, plastics, and even wood. Nearly everything in our homes and offices today. And when smoke inhalation victims are exposed to both toxicants, their medical conditions become much more complicated. In short, hydrogen cyanide kills the organs and carbon monoxide kills the blood. Up until now, the vast majority of firefighters would equate the worst cases or releases of carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide with hazmat incidents, or chemical warfare, or an industrial accident, or some other sort of dangerous situation. The reality is that hydrogen cyanide is present on some level on the scene of every fire we run. This includes structural fires, vehicle fires, dumpster fires. It's important for you to accept that these toxicants are on the scene at your fire ground.
We're not utilizing some of the resources that are available, such as air monitoring. A way that we fix the problem is we educate the firefighters on how to implement guidelines to make the fire ground a safer place, and a key aspect of that is monitoring the fire ground, because that's the only true way of understanding if it is safe atmospherically. We went out and did some research. We knew this was a problem, and that we had our hazmat unit go out and conduct this research. That way we had a consistent report back, and we wanted to identify a guideline for exposure to hydrogen cyanide. During the study, we were able to capture roughly 40 fires worth of statistics, and we were alarmed to find that we had 75 parts per million on a typical pot on the stove call that was extinguished by the homeowner prior to our arrival. So we had very light smoke conditions throughout the structure, and it really opened our eyes to understand we have to go to all calls now involving smoke, to the little pot on the stove all the way up through the 2-alarm working fires. How many times you go, or we go, to just a little nothing call, and guys are dropping air packs and they're not even going inside with it on their back, let alone wearing the face piece. And those are some of the higher reading calls that we go to.
So the question has to be in your mind, how bad can it be? And it means hydrogen cyanide and carbon monoxide. Well, here's some values for you to consider. The IDLH, which means immediately dangerous to life and health value, for CO, carbon monoxide, is 1,200 parts per million. That same value, IDLH for hydrogen cyanide, is 50 parts per million. The REL, or recommended exposure limit for carbon monoxide, is 35 parts per million, and the recommended exposure limit for hydrogen cyanide is 5 parts per million. You'll also see that HCN levels, hydrogen cyanide levels, above 270 parts per million can be fatal in 6 to 8 minutes. When you think about a part per million, think of it this way. Imagine the room you're in right now filled with 1 million golf balls and pick out 5 of those. That's a very small amount. And when you look at these two values, you're seeing them at fairly low levels, 5 parts per million as a recommended exposure limit for cyanide. That's not very much. Think about toxicity this way. It's not how much I can take, it's how little will kill me. or hurt me.
The Fire Smoke Coalition holds educational smoke symposiums around the globe in order to inform firefighters about the dangers of smoke exposure and how to protect themselves. Live burn training is often a component of these symposiums, during which firefighters have the opportunity to use HCN and CO gas meters to measure levels of each toxicant at various locations throughout the cycle of a fire. Controlled burns are conducted with various materials and objects found in homes and office buildings. Firefighters who are new to air metering and detection have the opportunity to see firsthand the levels of HCN and CO which are produced, often with surprising results.
This is the type of environment that, typically, we could go, would have gone in without air packs and all, and, even reading with the monitor, I still had 7.5 parts per million of hydrogen cyanide.
This is at the Cobb County burn building where they're just burning wood and straw.
Basic materials.
It's basic materials. And this is our reading for the HCN levels that have already reached in excess of 34, 35.
Yesterday we read 19 calls here on the truck. So that's a lot.
CO levels have exceeded 390 parts per million. And this is with no plastic or other foreign substances being burnt.
Once other burn practicals were introduced, readings taken throughout the cycle of the fire revealed levels as high as 48 parts per million of hydrogen cyanide and 408 parts per million of carbon monoxide.
This is a very big eye-opener in that, it shows the importance of wearing your breathing apparatus, not only firefighting, but salvage, overhaul, not necessarily even in the building, but even outside of the building.
Frank Brannigan years ago, brilliant firefighter, brilliant man, said, know your building, know your enemy. Today, we have to take it a step further. Know your buildings and know what's in your buildings. Understand your enemy. Your enemy is the fire dynamics, the thermal, and it's the smoke, it's the toxicity.
You really just want people to believe in it, because then they make decisions in places that nobody ever sees. The firefighter who's in the back of the house that chooses to put his mask on. There's no operating procedure, there's no rule, there's no amount of discipline that's going to really make that person do that. They have to choose, they have to decide that's important for them.